Does gender make a difference in how communication is understood?
I think it does. I think that women are more like spaghetti, where everything is intertwined, like on a plate of spaghetti. And so a conversation that you might have in the morning could be affected by in another conversation that you might have in the evening. Whereas I think men are more like waffles, that they have different compartments, and they'll jump from one compartment to the next. It's not that they might not go to the next compartment, or to the previous compartment, but they compartmentalize things. As a rule of thumb, that's probably not true of every male and female, but it is.
Does gender make a difference in how communication is understood in the workplace?
On a short answer, no. I think personality and individual communication styles play a greater role in communication than gender itself.
Hey Frank, can you hold this cat for me?
Yeah, sure.
If you hold him like that, he's gonna bite me.
No, man, this is how I always do it.
Ugh. Hey Frank, can you take this cat really quick?
Yeah, sure. I'll do it the way I always do it.
Okay, you did that this morning and I got bit by that cat. Can you maybe try to hold it a little differently?
Okay.
Cool, thank you. Hey Lisa, can you restrain this cat for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna get bit if you're holding that cat like that.
I always do it this way.
Ugh, it's not your hands getting bit. Lisa, can you hold this cat, please?
No, I'm gonna go run some blood work.
Are you serious?
What are likely barriers that would prevent your coworkers from listening effectively?
One of the biggest things that comes to mind for me is what's happening in your life outside of work, and that most of the time people try to leave that outside of work, but it can affect the work itself. And it becomes a challenge, I think, for all of us to keep our whole life separate. Maybe it goes back to the waffle to some degree. So.
What are likely barriers that would prevent your coworkers from listening effectively?
I say attitude would probably be the biggest barrier. If they walk in the door with a poor attitude, have come into work with a problem that's on their mind, they're not going to be available to listen. So they would not be effective listeners at that time.
Okay. What are some day-to-day communication conflicts that you face?
I think lack of communication is probably the biggest issue. I think the root of the majority of issues in any workplace is the lack of communication, and not just making assumptions that somebody knows something, or not communicating effectively that something has happened or is going to happen, and then people end up in the lost and in the unknown. So the root of a lot of evils is lack of communication.
Sally has good communication skills.
And Lisa has bad communication skills.
Hey Lisa, earlier today when I was trying to get you to help me with that cat, I felt very frustrated because you just walked away when I really needed you.
Well, maybe you should go to the office manager and talk about it. I'm busy right now. Hey Jill, did you get Roscoe's blood work sent out?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, I totally did. So I brought you spaghetti for lunch because I know it's your favorite.
It's really important because he had gastroenteritis.
Yeah, I know, I totally know. I got it. So what do you want to do after work?
Is it obvious when somebody that you're communicating with is actively listening to you?
I think it is. If somebody gives me eye contact, faces me, answers me, then I know that they're effectively listening. If I don't get eye contact, if I don't get some response from my communication, then I'm not sure that they have heard me.
Okay. And how about with animals? Is it obvious when they are listening and want to cooperate with what you're asking them and when they're not?
That can be tricky. There can be those animals that hide what they're thinking very, very well. so you always have to be on guard. But in general, if you walk in the room and take a look at what the animal's up to, their attitude, their body language, are they hiding behind mom and dad, all those kinds of things, then you know what kind of, how actively are they listening to you, what's going to happen. But they can be very tricky, and you always have to be on guard.
Okay. What could improve communication in the workplace?
I think people need to come to work ready to be there. If they're ready to be there and ready to put their mind to their work, then they're open to communicate, work together as a team. If they walk in the door with a problem on their mind, they're just not open in any way, so they can't do a good job, etc.
Hey Jill, did you get Roscoe's blood work sent out?
Yeah, I got it all sent out by 10 a.m. like you asked me to.
Okay, perfect, because he had gastroenteritis and I want to get that taken care of.
I understand that it's a big concern and I got it taken care of. Thank you for checking back with me.
Okay, thanks, you're great. How does showing empathy help in communicating with clients?
I think it's probably a nonverbal, or can be nonverbal communication that you care about not only their animal but about them too. And so I think that would be, it's maybe not always said verbally. It could be through a card, it could be through a hug, but it's making sure that they understand that you care. Again, not only about their animal but about what they're going through, the loss of that friend.
I'm freaking out. My dog is puking strings and he's gonna die and I don't know what to do.
I understand that's scary. I have also had a dog eat clothing. But Fluffy's in good hands. Let's get a barium series going and take some radiographs.
Thank you so much for being so empathetic earlier. I felt like you really cared about my personal needs and could relate to me. Next time my dog is sick, I'm definitely going to bring it to you.
Of course, that's what I'm here for, and I'm glad Fluffy's feeling better too. What type of nonverbal cues do you pick up from your patients?
When I look at a horse, the first thing I do, whether I'm in the front of them or the back of them, is I look at their eye. And they'll tell you a lot with just their eye itself, and their ears would be the next thing. But as you can see with her ears are, they're not laid back, they're forward. Her eyes are after the cookie, so. But for me, their eyes tell me the most about them, and I always watch their eyes, and then the ears along with it.
So I brought Rufus in today because he's always really anxious.
Yeah, he looks like it. He's pretty hoppy. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. So I've got Fluffy's results, and Mrs. Johnson, you look nervous.
Who, me? Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Does species make a difference in how communication is understood? A cat versus a dog, or a horse versus a dog, or rodents?
Absolutely, in communicating with an animal, each species has their own style in communicating. A horse is much easier to predict and to communicate with than a cat is. A cat tends to just hide and not communicate at all, versus a horse will tell you they're nervous or they're scared.